My veteran, Master Sergeant David Swope, served in two different branches for the United States military. He served in both the Army and the Air Force. In the Army, he was in the 121st Trans Company for the National Guard. In the Air Force, he was in the 201st Red Horse Squadron, located in Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. Swope described the Red Horse Squadron he was in as a very unique unit. All of the members in that group just liked to get work done. I asked Swope what he preferred, the Army or the Air Force. He said that he preferred the Air Force, but said that he had some very good experiences with the Army. Within these experiences, he got to go to Lexington Bluegrass Army Depot in Kentucky. He enjoyed that he got to travel like he did in the Army, but states that the Air Force was just better. Plus, he actually got to go overseas in the Air Force. When Swope got out of high school, he wasn't sure of what he wanted to do, but he joined the 121st Trans Company, and he believes that he joined that unit because his brother was already in that. I asked him what made him the type of builder and mechanic that he is today. He said he doesn't exactly know what it is, but he said just from his first placement as a mechanic, it just kind of evolved him into the type of mechanic and builder that he is today. When he transferred to the Air Force, they actually wanted to place him in the garage as a mechanic, but when his civilian job was already being a mechanic, he turned it down and was placed as a heavy equipment operator instead. Plus, it's another skill set that he could fall back on if he need be. The job my veteran was actually in charge of was redoing the runway that was originally set up by Russia when they were invading Afghanistan. The runway was in terrible shape, and the A-10 pilots hated it because of all the potholes. My veteran's job was to fill in all of the potholes, but the runway was still active as they were working on it. He said,
Our job was to fix the little like potholes, what we consider a pothole on the road today. These were on the runway and we had to patch them up. It was great because we were working on the runway and it was an active runway. So the tower would call us and we'd have to move off to the side and airplanes would land or take off. And I mean, literally, you were within 200 feet of these aircraft. You could see the pilots in the A-10s taking off. They were fully loaded, bombs hanging under the wings and everything. A couple hours later, they come back, no more bombs. So they were out there getting the bad guys, and we were helping make their job easier by smoothing the runway out. But the month I spent in Afghanistan was probably the highlight of my military career.
I asked my veteran what his favorite part of being in the service was.
One of the things I really enjoyed was getting to shoot weapons and get paid for it. And one of my all-time favorite experiences was at Fort Indiantown Gap, and I was on the M60 team. But this was when I was in the 121st Trans Company, and we had 13 machine guns set up on the range back on Range Road. And when the tower gave you the order to commence firing, you got 13 machine guns firing, and then we fired into the evening. So now you can see the tracers fly. Tyler, I'm telling you, you want to see something cool. You got 13 machine guns firing at pop-up targets out in the range. You're like going out 1,000 yards or 1,000 meters, and you see these red tracers flying everywhere. It is awesome. I'm telling you, it is hands down cool.
One of the final things I asked Mr. Swope was about how he was received when he returned home from being overseas. Wonderful, he said. I remember when we left Fort Indiantown Gap that was my third deployment in 2008. We went to Middletown to fly out. There was a group of guys on motorcycles, Harleys, and they basically escorted us from Indiantown Gap to the Middletown Airport or the Harrisburg Airport where we flew out. When we came to the intersection on Route 83, one guy would block the ramp, and it was like they just stopped all the traffic, and it was all for us. And it was the same way coming home. He said, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this, because when they pulled into Fort Indiantown Gap, where the Red Horse unit is, the Red Horse unit is on the east end of the gap. One of the local fire companies, he doesn't remember the name of it, but they took their ladder trucks and made a big arch, and inside of that arch, they put the American flag.
When we pulled into Fort Indiantown Gap, where the Red Horse unit is, the Red Horse unit's on the east end of the gap. One of the local fire companies, I don't remember which one it was, but they took two ladder trucks, so probably two fire companies, they took their ladder trucks and they made a big arch. And when we came home, I'm gonna tear up, man, because I'm telling you, you felt so proud to be, you were gone from your family, you missed your family and everything, but you're finally home, you're back on American soil, and you just see all this support. When you got to your unit, your family, your friends, the media, it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. But driving up and seeing the fire companies and driving under those fire trucks and stuff, it was a neat experience.